What's up, everybody? I am in Łódź. I heard so many mixed reviews about this city. Some people say that it sucks. Some people say that it's underrated. I spent the first day here walking around with my friend. She showed me a lot of really nice places of the city. And I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Łódź is pretty underrated. The cool thing about this place compared to some of the other cities in Poland, all the other cities in Poland have a central square design. So they have the old town that's usually in the middle of the city and the rest of the city comes out from it, right? Here, you have Piotrkowskas street, which is like the main street here in Łódź. And instead of it being like a central design, it's just one straight street. We look all the way down that way, and we go all the way down that way. It's just one long street with a bunch of shops. And everything is centered around this street. I hear it's like a good and bad thing because all of the best restaurants and shops are on this street and there's not a lot of things outside of this general area. On the bright side, this street is actually super nice. And the cool thing about it is that it's really nice both during the day and at night. And I imagine during Christmas it must be really nice as well. One of the comments that people have made is that the city is incredibly ugly. I don't think that's totally fair. There are a lot of parts of the city that are pretty run down, but I think this is common in a lot of the smaller cities here in Poland. There was like a famous actor a while ago that said that Łódź is a city for like homeless people. I don't know what the exact translation was, but something like that. And I think that made a lot of people here angry. So since then, they've been really trying to reform the image. Łódź is interesting because despite its name being boat, there is no bodies of water anywhere near this place, which makes no sense. There was a bunch of textile factories here. Something I like about it is that they really maintain the history of the city. They redo a lot of the factory buildings where the factory workers used to work and the factory. They have refurbished a lot of the buildings and made them into other things like shops or restaurants or hotels. The quality of like how they look on the outside is very nice. Just like a lot of Polish cities though, they still have problems with graffiti. If you look, there's just graffiti everywhere. Boom, which I guess adds to like the why people think it looks really trashy. But I think this exists everywhere in Poland, even in Warsaw. As beautiful as that city is, there's graffiti everywhere, which I think makes it really trashy. This is like off area. At night there's a bunch of bars here. There are food stands, there are a bunch of bars, restaurants, all these things, and it's just like a nice hip area for people to hang out. Łódź is a university city, so it has that kind of hipster young people feel and vibe, which I also really like. If I were to compare this to some of the cities that I've been to in the past, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Ibagué from Colombia, if you guys watched me for long enough from the Colombia days, and kind of like Chiang Mai, because this area right here, like off with this tower in the back and this whole industrial feel, there's an area Nimin in Chiang Mai in Thailand that has a very similar feel. I was very interested by Łódź because I've thought about moving out of Warsaw into some of the smaller neighboring cities. And I like Łódź a lot because it's only an hour from the city of Warsaw. And a lot of people live here in Łódź and just commute to Warsaw to do their business or whatever. And it's a lot more low key. As of right now, I don't know if I would live here. I think the city is developing and it has a really cool hipster kind of vibe. I really enjoy living next to bodies of water. I think when you have a body of water, whether it be like a lake or a river or an ocean, it adds a different vibe to the city. That's why I like Krakow, Warsaw a lot. I hear Poznan also has a river that goes through it and it just totally changes the vibe. Yeah, there's a lot of beautiful street art around the city too, which I like. Like on top of the regular graffiti, there are really big street art murals. Gdynia is also kind of the same way. So it has like an interesting mix of this, like the worn down buildings and, you know, all this history with the factories. But then the street art adds a lot of flavor to the city as well. Something that I've been quite impressed by Łódź as well is the restaurants here are surprisingly really good. They're a bit on the expensive side, a little bit more expensive than Warsaw actually. And it could be just because this area is like the most expensive area in Łódź. I'm eating Mexican food right now. The quality is surprisingly pretty good. They have a lot of good Asian food. The Vietnamese food is also very high quality. So that's why like everything's kind of concentrated in this one area. And I don't know how many tourists they receive, but it does seem like there's quite a bit of foreigners here too. A lot of Latinos I've seen, a lot of Asian people, like Koreans I've seen walking around as well. So it's a very surprising city in a lot of ways. Not bad actually, wow. But the tortilla is good, the meat's good, the sauce is not bad. It's like a 7 out of 10 for tacos here in Poland. Not bad. Okay, so I'm checking out the outside of that main street. The rest of the city is extremely run down. I don't know, I think it's just developing, but I can see where Łódź got that reputation for being not like the prettiest to the eyes, because outside of that main area, it's like a very big difference in how everything looks. A lot of the buildings are old and kind of run down, but there's a lot of construction going on. So you have this interesting mix of like really new renovated apartment buildings, and you go a block over and it's a bunch of rundown looking buildings, at least from the outside. The vibe of the city though is very, very interesting. Right now the weather is quite nice and it's not that cold, so it's enjoyable to walk around. But I imagine during the winter when it's cold and it's cloudy and gray, this place must feel extremely miserable. I'm not gonna lie. There does seem to be a little bit of heaviness in the air. Just Poland in general, right? The people are not always the happiest. Łódź as a city, even though there are a lot of beautiful spots to it, I can see that there's a little bit of a depressive vibe here, and I'm not entirely sure why. So I need to go to some of the museums to kind of check it out. But on the bright side, I just walk into this park right now. And very, very beautiful. I've seen like 3 or 4 parks already here in Łódź, and they are super nice, extremely clean, beautiful pathway. Look at the trees and all the greenery. So there are a lot of really good things about the city so far as well. I'm not gonna lie, this park is extremely lovely. Very, very beautiful. Wow. I also love fall. You know, a lot of people hype up summer. I don't like summer because of the heat and the bugs. It's very, very difficult to sleep at night, especially because here in Poland, a lot of the buildings don't have AC and they're made for winter weather. I have to admit that fall for me is my favorite season because I love seeing the leaves change. And when everything's orange and the weather's a lot colder, it's just, I love the vibe a lot. A lot of the roads leave a lot of room to be desired though. All over the city, they have like potholes and they're not very, very developed, I guess. But look at the textile buildings, right? So this city is well known for these textile mills and how all this stuff looks. All the buildings that are renovated look extremely beautiful because they're clean and modern and nice. And if you go inside the buildings, they are just like any modern building. So I love that the city has retained this spirit. The landmarks here and the tourist spots are very beautiful though. The organization and the cleanliness and the infrastructure like varies from block to block. But the beautiful areas in the city are very, very beautiful. Look, I'm walking around and I believe it's one of the textile mills, and there's a museum here that I'm going to check out. And look at this beautiful park. You have this beautiful walkway right here. The buildings are all well maintained. I think a lot of people still live here actually. Perfectly clean, there's no trash on the way, there's no graffiti here. There's like certain areas of the city that they take really good care of. The street is very beautiful though, I cannot lie. There's a lot of life going on. There's a lot of people on the side playing music, like right there. There's also quite a few homeless people kind of sitting around. I just had this homeless lady come up to me, ask me for some money, and then when I said no, she cursed me out. I don't know if that's a lot more common in the smaller cities. You know, we have a lot of homeless in Warsaw too, but in Krakow there were barely any, and I think they did a good job of kind of hiding that. Look how beautiful this street is. I love the outdoor decorations of all the restaurants. I think they did a fantastic job. There's a lot of flowers and there's just a lot of colors here, and including with like the really beautiful architecture on the wall. This part of the city is extremely beautiful. You know, there's not too much to see outside of this main area, but this main area is so nice. I think this attraction is worth the visit. Yo, that ramen was surprisingly so good. The Asian food in Łódź is ridiculously good. I think the Korean food still has a bit of way to go, but the Japanese, like the ramen and the Viet food here, absolutely fantastic. Very surprising. You know, I didn't really know what to expect before coming, and I think it helps a lot having a local show you around the city. In my opinion, I think Łódź is very beautiful. I don't think it deserves a lot of the hate that it gets. I can understand if you see some of the outskirts and don't go into the main areas, why you can think that the city is very run down. But I was very impressed by a lot of things. I love how they maintained their history with the textile mills and the workers, and they refurbished all of the buildings. I thought that was a great touch. The restaurants here are amazing, and it's both beautiful during the day and at nighttime. It's clean, it's organized, and it's safe, and it's one of the most beautiful places here in Poland. In another 5 to 10 years, I can see the city really becoming something great. I think for now it's still a little bit rough around the edges, but it's well on its way. If I had to give it a scale of 1 to 10, to be honest, it's probably like a 7. I think it has a lot of potential. I had some of the best Asian food I've had in Poland here, surprisingly. It's not necessarily a place that I would live, but I really look forward to coming back here. I highly recommend that you guys watch this video next. Do zobaczenia.